All right, it's trying to set up.
It's telling me it's streaming live.
Set up for Facebook Live. Hold on, it's not on my end yet. Redirecting to Facebook Live. Okay, we on.
All right, folks. How's everybody doing? We're going to try this one more time. Obviously, we've had some technical challenges, but I think we may have worked them out. So if we lost some folks tonight, we apologize for that. But it's only in our attempt to bring you more content and better content. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to keep this relatively short because we got such a late start. But I want to introduce our new format and my new co-host. I'm Equavian Knight, and I have my new co-host, my little brother, Lenny Knight. Say hi, Lenny.
What's up, peoples?
All right.
What's up? What's up?
I got to tell you guys, I'm excited about this. This is something I've wanted to do for quite some time because there's so much information that we'd like to share with you. And my brother was the one who first talked to me about intermittent fasting years ago. But as I stated previously, at that time, I guess mentally, I just wasn't ready for it because it went in one ear and came out the other. But soon enough, it became a part of my life, and I'm happy about it. I'm so glad that it has become a part of my life. So what we're going to do tonight, because we're a little behind, we're just going to keep this short and sweet, and we're going to talk about really what intermittent fasting is. Okay, and what all intermittent fasting really is the voluntary abstaining from food for a period of time. And the normal regimen for intermittent fasting, particularly for the beginner, is what we like to call the 16 and 8 method, with 16 hours of fasting or abstaining from food, followed by an 8-hour eating window. In other words, the time in which you're allowed to eat food. And the thing about that is the science of it is that when you do that, it does some magical things. Your body will then have to use another source of energy. And that other source of energy is, you've guessed it, it's fat. So fasting actually leads to you burning more fat. When you're fasting, you're burning fat. And if you're burning fat, you're simply losing weight. That's the science. That's the science. Lenny, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, Q. I mean, it's a real simple format. I mean, it works for almost anybody. It just takes getting used to, and when you first try it out, you have to kind of psychologically get over the fact of just taking in liquids for a good part of the day. But when your body is so magical that it adjusts to it pretty much automatically after a period of time. And the best or the easiest format, because there's different methods you can use. There's a 16-8 protocol, which means you fast for 16 hours, and then you have a feeding window of 8 hours. And then there's one that's a 20-hour or 18-hour fasting window, and then you fast for 6 hours. Then there's a 24, and then there's a straight up hardcore where you just go 24 hours and you don't eat. But we suggested to start with this with a protocol that's called a 16-8 intermittent fasting window. And I have this on the screen if you guys can see this. And basically what this does is, if you notice, the gray areas, 8 a.m., let's say you start eating from 12 noon, and these are the light blue boxes. So you eat from a period between 12 to 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that's an 8-hour eating window from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., from 12 noon to 8 p.m. After 8 p.m., you cut off eating. You don't eat anymore. So then that's 4 hours from 8 p.m. till midnight, basically 12 a.m. You haven't eaten for 4 hours. And if you go and sleep, while you're sleeping overnight, that's more hours that you haven't eaten. That's 8 more hours.
Absolutely.
After between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m., that's 4. And 8 more you slept overnight. Now you're up to, what is that?
8 a.m.
Yes, so that gives you more hours on it. Then at 8 a.m., you go 4 more hours to 12 noon. At that point, you had a 16 hours combined where you did not eat. I hope I explained that properly, but if not, we'll come back to it.
But Lenny, I'll always break it down in this particular way. All you're really doing is you're cutting off your eating after 8 p.m. at night. You're going to bed. You're getting up the next day, and you're skipping breakfast. You don't eat breakfast. You don't eat your first meal until afternoon, anytime after 12 noon. And you've effectively started a 16 and 8 fast by doing so.
Correct, because at 8 p.m. to midnight, 4 hours, 8 more hours. Let's say you sleep from midnight to 8 a.m. in the morning. You got 12 hours in at that point. So now that you're back at 8 a.m. in the morning, you go 4 more hours to the midday, and that's 16 hours. You fasted. And that's really the easiest thing to do, because those 8 hours you sleeping overnight, man, it just makes the fast go so much easier. You know, you almost don't notice it. So really the adjustment period, Q, would be from 8 p.m. to midnight. And if you just carry your butt to sleep at a reasonable time,
Exactly.
that kind of helps you. If you're not like staying up late watching the basketball games, or you can't even do that no more, so you got reason to go to sleep now. So
Exactly.
earlier, you should be good to go. And then the challenge becomes is learning to skip breakfast. And then you pretty much at lunch, you're good to go. Q, is this how you started off?
That's exactly. Well, actually, I started a little differently. I told people I was a little more hardcore, but this is what I recommend for everybody. This is the simplest method. And the thing I always talk about, Lenny, is I always I want people to do something that's sustainable, something they can do for the rest of their lives. And before we go on any further, I just want to speak to some people. How you doing, Joanne Jenkins? Good to see you. Mark Showtime Brown, Keith Colbert, and any others who are on there. Say hello so I know you're there. But anyway, what I always preach is the 16 and 8 method, because I think that's the simplest way for people to get started. And it's something that is sustainable for everybody. As Lenny said, there are other methods in which we can fast, and we can talk about some of those later. But this is just for basics. This is fasting 101 that we're talking about right now. Go ahead, Lenny.
And the reason why you really want to go at least 16 hours, you really want to go 16 hours, because at the 16-hour point, well, really anywhere after 12 hours is when the magic starts, when Q's talking about that your body starts to metabolize your fat stores as an energy source.
Correct.
And not your food source. Because by 12 hours, you've kind of pretty much exhausted the food that's in your intestines, and now your body is looking for some type of source to provide energy to your body. And it usually starts to tap into your fat stores at that point. So that you really start to metabolize fat, and that's when it starts to burn off, and that's when you start to waste that. And you obviously can see how Quavy has wasted down to pretty much that. And see, I started this whole thing years ago, and I was juice fasting. I don't know if you guys remember me juice fasting. Juice fasting is good, but what I found out with juice fasting is that you're still getting a lot of calories. And I was juice fasting throughout the day, and I wasn't able to, I mean, even though I had good effects, I still, sometimes you was hungry. So I really recommend this protocol much better. You can obviously with Quavy's fat loss. And because when I was juice fasting, I was spiking my insulin. And Q, I'm gonna start off explaining what spiking the insulin is in a regular diet.
Sure.
And then I want you to explain how the intermittent fasting protocol is much more effective and doesn't spike your insulin, because that also stops fat burning and turns it on and off. It's kind of like a light switch. So let me pull up a screen that shows you. This is, let me share my screen once again so you guys can see what's going on. So this would be a normal cycle of your insulin. And your insulin is so important because your insulin, you can see where insulin increases and decreases. Okay, so if you normally, when you normally eat, what's happening is in the morning you have your breakfast. You see these green mountains or these peaks? You spike your insulin every time you eat. And when your insulin is spiked, you are not burning fat. So it's very hard to lose weight. That's why people say, Q, they always say, well, I'm eating a good diet. I'm not eating that much during the course of the day. I'm eating all these small meals. What's the problem, Q?
The problem is this. Even though the meals may be small, every time you eat, you spike those insulin levels, as we talked about previously. And when your insulin levels are spiked, you're not in a position then to burn that stored fat. So your body is constantly working because it's trying to digest the food, and your body is working hard, and it can never get to what we call baseline, which is where you've leveled out.
And
Your
that's the
energy
black
levels are
line.
back down.
That's
Yes.
the black line in between the green
And the blue.
and the blue. The blue is like after you hit baseline and you haven't eaten for a while, and you go into this blue, or when your insulin is decreased and it's very low, that's when it starts tapping into your fat stores. That's when you can start to really burn. And that's why I can kind of lose weight when I want to. Pretty much at this point, you can lose weight when you want to because
Whatever, on demand, basically on demand.
You know the format, you
Yes.
know the protocol, you know what works. And it's just really mentally getting over that hump. Now, Q, show them this is what happens in an intermittent fasting protocol. And this is why it works.
Guys, I want you to understand why a 16 and 8 method works, and just about every intermittent fasting model works. It's because you see those red peaks, those are dinner and lunch. Those are the meals. That's your eating window. And you see the insulin level spike in that 8-hour time period. But look to your left and to your right of the red peaks, and you're going to see the green. And the green, all that green time is fat burning time, okay? This is when your insulin levels have decreased. Now, as Lenny said previously, after your last meal, so let's say at 8 p.m., after dinner at 8 p.m., you finish eating at 8 p.m.
This is right? Where the second red milk,
the second red.
The first green fat burning period starts. That's
yes.
That's 8 p.m. Q.
Okay? Yes. Now it may take you after your last meal, you've eaten, it may take you anywhere from, as Lenny said, 8 to 12 hours. So I find that what we're finding, and research is finding, most people it takes around 10 hours. Once you become something called fat adapted, it may only take 8 hours, and it depends upon what you've eaten. If your meal was heavy with carbs, it may take longer for it to come back down. But let's just say, just for the simple math, that it takes 10 hours for your body to burn off the fat that you've eaten, okay? So if you're fasting for 16 hours, it takes 10 hours for those insulin levels to come down, you then have a 6-hour period of which your body has to run off of another source of energy. And that's what we're talking about, that stored fat, the green areas. Your body's running off of that stored fat. And when your body is running off of that stored fat, that's when the magic of weight loss takes place.
Correct. Absolutely, Q. Now, Q, I know a lot of people will always ask, well, during the time that I'm fasting, the green window, when I'm not eating, what actually can I have? Because I'm getting hungry, or my stomach is growling, and I call it fake hunger pains.
Yeah.
Really, I learned when I was juice fasting years ago that I juice fast like 38 days one time. Nothing.
I remember that. I remember you doing that.
I went down to high school weight. I went from 240 or 245 down to like 185. My wife said, "Where you at? What's going on?" I mean, she was like, "What the hell?" But
that's crazy.
I was on a mission.
Yeah.
But I was basically starving myself to a certain degree. With intermittent fast, you do not starve yourself. You get to eat once every 24 hours. And in a 16-8 protocol, you can eat twice if you want to.
Yeah.
So, basically show them, Q, on this next slide, what they can drink during that time period while they're intermittent fasting. And this is what we recommend.
Okay. One of the things we're often asked is, what can I consume during my fasting window, that 16-hour period in which you're sustaining for food? Now remember, for maybe half of that period, you're probably going to be asleep anyway. So that's 8 hours right there. But from 8 p.m. at night until 12 noon the next day, the only things you should be consuming are water, and bottled water or water with lemon, sparkling water, which I always talk about, and there's various brands of that.
Q, I love some sparkling water because with the bubbles in it.
Yes.
It makes you feel full faster.
Exactly. That's what I try to explain.
Carry on, my brother. Carry on.
Yes, yeah. But that sparkling water is like magic, guys. I'm telling you. I've talked about that previously. It's the carbonation that's in sparkling water, which has an effect and makes you feel like you've had something to eat. I can find myself drinking carbonated water and belching like I've just had a meal. It's the effect, it's the bubble effect from the carbonation and it helps to satisfy that hunger pain you may be feeling. It'll take that right away. You can have things like Bubbly, the brand called Bubbly. There's all kinds of brands of sparkling water which work.
Croy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all of those. Name a few others. Pellegrino is one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, it is. Me too.
Okay. In addition to that, you could have black coffee. Now, when I say coffee, it's very important that we always say this. It has to be black coffee, because if you add sugar or cream, you will break your fast. Why? Because it adds calories, and anything that adds calories does what? It spikes your insulin level and kicks you out of fat burning mode, which we want to avoid at all costs. Okay, so you have coffee black. You could have black or green tea. Once again, no sugar, not even a sugar substitute, because some of them have aspartame in them, which can trick your body and kick you out of fat.
Sweeteners, those sugar substitutes makes your body think that it's getting sugar, and it has the same effect on your insulin where it spikes your insulin. So you don't
exactly. And no cream because they add calories. And herbal teas. And once again, we talk about the same thing. It has to be plain. Okay. Now, it's okay to add a slice of lemon to your water if you want a little bit additional flavor. Another thing that's not on this list, but you can consume apple cider vinegar. Okay, apple cider vinegar is fine. It will not hurt your fast, and it has many other medicinal benefits as well. So apple cider vinegar is another beverage that you could have. But these are the only things that you should be consuming during your fasting window. And guys, it's an adjustment period. I'll be truthful with you. There's an adjustment period. There's going to be a couple of for the first few days. There's going to be an adjustment period. Now they tell them about how the body will try to feel them and giving them signals that they're hungry and that type of thing. Talk about that a little bit.
It's fake hunger pains is what I you're growling on your stomach, and it's much. But really, your body can exist on food without food for a long time. I mean, it's people fast for 30, 60, 90 days without eating anything. Beyond intermittent fasting. So the average person has about 62 days worth of food in their belly.
Yes.
That's what I learned through fasting for 9, 10 years or whatever I've been doing. So it's really much more mental than it's anything else. So that's why we advise you to take those 4 hours before you go to bed, and then do 8 hours of sleep, and then 4 hours after you get up. That's the easiest 16 that you can knock out. And then you can adjust as you go on the fly. And Q, I think, I don't want to go too long tonight. I suggest that, if you guys want a lot more information, and we're joining forces here, because I did a kind of a Facebook sabbatical. I kind of dropped off Facebook for a while because I just had stuff to do. And
I'm glad to have you back, though, brother. Glad to have you back.
But so, Q, I think you were doing these on Mondays or Tuesday nights, and we're going to do this format because we can use slides and videos and really explain things a lot more. So I think if we continue using this format, do you think that would be more helpful for people, because we can get them more information that visually as well as us audio speaking and telling people, what they can expect?
Absolutely, because I find that most people are visual learners. So having slides in the presentation and along with the information we give them from verbally will help people to understand some of the aspects we're talking about. And there's so many other things we're going to talk about as we move forward, further in this. One of the things one of the main benefits is weight loss with intermittent fasting, but there are so many other benefits that I've talked about previously, and we're going to go back and revisit some of those benefits in future shows. Things like insulin resistance and fighting type 2 diabetes, and ridding our body of inflammation, which is the gatekeeper for disease. And that's very, very important in this day and time. With the things we have going on right now, brother,
90% of
COVID-19,
yes.
We can keep inflammation out of our bodies that will go a long way in fighting off any illnesses that would attack us. So we're going to.
They say, Q, that 90% of the disease and inflammation starts in the gut, and that's your larger and smaller intestines, and it basically comes from your diet, what you consume. I'm a vegetarian or a pescatarian. Sometimes I do eat fish now as I got a little bit older. But you're a carnivore. You eat. So this diet, what I love about intermittent fasting is you could be whatever the heck you want to be. You can eat meat.
Yes.
You can be a vegetarian. This thing will still work.
It will still work. That's the great part of it, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't restrict people as much. What I will say is, and we'll touch on some of these issues next time, because like you said, it can heal a lot of problems. Now, we're not doctors, but I have to say that right now.
Exactly.
I don't want to get out there and say, that I'm giving any medical advice whatsoever. I'm only giving what worked for me and what I've known to see work for other people.
Absolutely.
And a bunch of people online that Q and I follow over the years, Thomas DeLauer and Edward V.
Dr. Eric Berg, and many others. Yes.
Good people out there. Good, people out there giving a lot of great information. But look, we're going to cut it off for now, but when we come back, if you have issues, because I think Q would tell us how this is going to work, whether it's Monday night, Tuesday nights, whatever it is. If you have issues you want to talk about and discuss, just drop them on our Facebook page. Just drop it on Q's page, drop it on my page. We'll be happy to, look at your suggestions, and then we'll go from there. And it's wonderful to see. I got back on Facebook and I seen Keith Cobra drop like 100 pounds, and
Cheryl Hunt doing a wonderful job. Gary Walton and many others are doing wonderful jobs, man. Yeah, so
yes,
we just want to keep that going. We want to keep that going. And with this day and time, with all we have going on now, and people being stuck in the house, now is another point of emphasis. This is a great time to start fasting, because we're in the home so much, and the tendency is when we're home to eat. So we can mentally set ourselves up to have a certain window for eating. We won't balloon ourselves up. Not only that, we can decrease our weight. I can tell you guys, even during this period right now, with all we're going through, God knows that I'm still losing weight. Still losing weight with all that's going on home. Other issues that you guys know about as well, but still been able to maintain it because I have basic principles in place that I use every day. Because Lenny, once again, we say this is not a diet. It's what?
A lifestyle.
A lifestyle.
And we'll talk about that in some of the next videos, about the mental aspect of it and how to overcome your, when you're first getting started. Because it is a little difficult. I'm not going to say that it's easy to start, but I'm going to tell you this, it's easy to keep going once you hit that point. And Keith Cobra can tell you, Cheryl Hunt, and whoever else can follow. Once you hit that point, it becomes easy. I mean, I had my wife on, and my wife didn't believe it until she started hitting that point. And she was like, "I can't go on there and no eating." I was like, "Yeah, you can believe it." Just, try it out and see what happens. So look, y'all, we're gonna kill it for tonight, and thank you.
We'll be back up probably next Tuesday, if not before next Tuesday, more than likely, if that's a good day. And I want you to have your questions. Put your questions below. You can also reach us, either one of us, in Messenger. We're going to make this a continuing series. And the goal and objective is to help as many people as possible. And that's what it's all about, to help people get healthier, live healthier lives, and more productive lives. And part of that is being healthy.
That's what it comes down to, brother.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. So look, we're going to stop it there. And everybody have a wonderful evening. Thank y'all for joining in. And we'll see y'all sometime next week, right, Q?
All right. Everybody be blessed. Be good to yourselves, like I always say. Good night, everybody.